Can an action camera replace a mirrorless camera? Insta360 challenged me to use the Ace Pro 2 like I would any of my mirrorless cameras. I'd like to say a special thank you to Insta360 for sponsoring this video. When Insta360 first released the Ace Pro 2, I wasn't super impressed, but they've made a lot of changes and added some pretty cool accessories to this camera that might make it a little bit better. So to test it, we're going to drive to Seward, Alaska on a beautiful winter day and see just how well it performs in the typical ways that I would use my full-frame mirrorless cameras. So obviously, one of the first things I want to test is how good are the photos from this, because I use my mirrorless cameras for photos a lot. And this, in the 16:9 mode, has a 37 megapixel photo option. So with this beautiful winter scene we've got here, let's see what sort of photo we can take. And honestly, this new case that they've got going on here is pretty nice because it makes it a little bit more like a camera. So, all right, it's like zero. Let's keep going. Wintertime is one of my favorite times to film and take photos because you get these beautiful snow-covered landscapes, and sometimes you get incredibly beautiful frost-covered trees. Whether you love or hate the cold, it does make for beautiful footage and beautiful photographs. Oh my gosh, it's so cold. This will be a really good dynamic range test of trying to grab some pictures of my car with the sun directly behind it. We stopped at the harbor to check some things out on our way and picked up a couple more passengers. These two guys decided to stick with us for just a little bit, hoping we would give them some food. We politely declined because as soon as you start feeding the ravens, this is what happens. Being that it's already midday, we're racing against the clock to get to our destination before the sun goes behind the mountains. But we first had to stop at this waterfall and test the slow motion capabilities of the Ace Pro 2. Which honestly, so far, I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed. The quality of the 4K 60 is really nice, especially in the HDR mode because it gives you some pretty good dynamic range. And the 4K 120 and HD 240 actually look pretty decent. The HD 240 definitely a little softer, but the 4K 120, not bad. So this Explorer grip is really cool because it allows you not only to get extra battery life, but it gives you some toggles where you can zoom, like a rocker where you can zoom in and out. And then it also gives you a wheel on the back that allows you to change exposure value or set it to whatever you want. If you want to control shutter speed or white balance or ISO or anything like that. And it has a cold shoe that allows you to plug in an external microphone if you want to. And of course, the great thing about it is you just slide the camera in, plug in the cable, which gives you extra battery because this does have extra battery power in it. Now you do have to remove the door that exposes the USB-C, so that does mean you're no longer waterproof, but it does still seal and give you some weather resistance. You're definitely not going to want to put it underwater. And then, boom, you've got this great setup for filming and running around. When I first saw it, I thought it would be a gimmick but it does make the camera a lot more easy to use in a situation like this where you're trying to maybe use it like you would a mirrorless camera. Yeah, very, very nice. Also, for somebody who has larger hands, it makes it a lot easier to hold and to operate. They've also made this magnetic sun hood that attaches to the back of the camera, which is super useful and super cool. You just attach this piece of metal here and they give you a guide for it all. Magnetically attaches just like that. And then you have this great little sun hood that does really help on days like this. Now, one of the challenges with using essentially an action camera as a more mirrorless camera is that you are really limited in the lens choice you have. I mean, yes, you have like wide, ultra wide, linear, D-warp and stuff like that in here, but they released a couple of different add-on lenses to this that I want to use today because they're really something spectacular. The one that I'm most excited to try out is this close focus lens. So they're really easy. You pop the main camera lens off, and then put the lens on. It snaps on place, and just like that, you have a close focus lens. Let's try it out. You're supposed to be able to focus for about 3 inches or 10 centimeters. So I've got it set to the very closest minimum focus distance I can. It's definitely giving you some depth of field as I go from far to close minimum focus distance. That's interesting. It's still not a super shallow depth of field like you would get from a large camera, but it is really cool that you can get that close, because typically action cameras, you can't get that close to anything. They're just sort of set to infinity focus. So very nice. But they also include what I have been excited to try is what they're calling the cinematic lens. So essentially it's like an anamorphic lens, but just for the Ace Pro 2. So it should give us streaks and a much wider field of view. Right now, Insta360 is offering some pretty incredible deals for Black Friday. If you want to buy an Ace Pro 2 and you use my link in the description, you're going to save $100 off the Ace Pro 2. But the first 10 people that use that code actually are going to get an Insta360 Mic Air for free on top of the discount. When you change a lens, or when you add any of these other lenses on, you have to go into the menu and make a selection to change the lens so that the camera knows what lens you're using. In this case, we're on the cinematic lens, so we're going to go there, and then it changes the format, so you automatically have this really widescreen field of view. And of course, like, it does give you the streaks, anamorphic streaks, but I don't care about that so much as I do the widescreen format, because yeah, I like that. It's nice. The cinematic lens gives you a 235:1 aspect ratio, and you can use it in all the different fields of view, and you can also take photos with it if you want to. But there are a couple of caveats with the cinematic lens, or the anamorphic lens, is you don't want to put your subject, like a human being, on the sides of it, because you'll definitely notice the distortion. So if we do this, like you can see, as I get out to the side, you can see it starts to distort and warp me, because that's just kind of the way anamorphic lenses work. That would be that way for any anamorphic lens, even on a larger camera. That's just how they work. And of course, there's also the ultrawide, which gives you 189, almost 190 degrees field of view. Check this out. So here is the view in the normal lens in the ultra field of view, and here's the field of view with the ultra wide lens in the same view mode, which is, I mean, it's so wide. You can see my fingers on the edge of the screen. That's insane. And you can go even wider by going into the mega view field of view, which is nuts. Like, that is crazy wide. There's the action field of view. Look how wide that is. That's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. That's almost too wide. That's insanely wide. Now this is not a lens that you would be vlogging with. I mean, it looks so ridiculously wide. It's insane. Look at that. You can just, it's like, it's crazy. But this would be very good for action sports. Maybe even FPV drones, that kind of stuff. This lens would be pretty great for it. One thing the Ace Pro 2 does have is really good audio because of this wind muff they put over the camera, this little wireless or wired mesh grill. It is really good built-in audio, but because they've introduced the Mic Air, it means you can actually get even better audio with it, which actually you've heard through this video a little bit, but I'm gonna turn it on right now. And now you're hearing the Mic Air, which actually does sound really good. You can also use noise cancellation with it if you need to, but I don't. I mean, I like having a little bit of ambient sound. The camera can actually record ambient sound as well, like a backup track with this, which is very cool. But personally, I just like this going the way it is. And just like that, the sun's going behind the mountains, so it's time to go somewhere else where it's warmer and sunnier. The only area where I struggle with this camera is for wildlife, and that's typically because you need a really long lens. But not to say that it's not possible. Like, we were over there and some ravens just landed on the car because they were waiting for food right on the car. And this other car had like 200 of them around them. But that's a rare circumstance. However, in the tree right here, there's a bald eagle sitting there. Probably not going to move much because it's pretty cold today. We'll see if we can get a photo of it with this. And it is nice because you have a 37 megapixel still here. It also gives you the option to crop in 2x. Not to say it's impossible, just generally you need a really, really long telephoto lens. They are making extra lenses for this, so Insta360, if you figure out how to make like a 8x lens for this, I would buy one. With the sun setting, it was time to head home, but make one more stop on the way. This lake has some incredibly beautiful ice formations from some of the rivers that flow into it, and who doesn't love beautiful reflections with golden light? So far, I've been pretty impressed by the Ace Pro 2. It's handled the photos better than I thought it would, and it's handled video better than I thought it would. When I initially checked the Ace Pro 2 out, one thing I knocked it for was not having 10-bit color. And usually that shows up when you have these insane gradients in the sky. But honestly, in this photo, the camera captured it perfectly, exactly as you see it in the sky when you look at the alpenglow. And check out this video. Even though it's 8-bit, like, it looks good. It looks clean and it looks really good. And that brings us to the one other major limitation that I've found with the Ace Pro 2. Now, to be fair, no small sensor camera like this is going to do amazing at low light like a full frame camera will. But the Ace Pro 2's pure video mode does really well when there's some ambient light around. And even testing it in astrophotography, like this time lapse turned out great. And if you look at any of the stills from the time lapse, they look really good. This would have been better if I'd not been in the city with a bunch of ambient light. But even for that, like, the camera pulled off something that's really difficult to capture, which is capture the aurora and the stars in a place where there's a lot of ambient light. One thing that's interesting is how Insta360 has worked with Leica, and there's a partnership there where Leica has helped design the optics for the Ace Pro 2, and optics are a huge part of what makes a camera look good or not look good. In this case, look pretty good. But also in a recent firmware update, there were some color profiles that they added to the Ace Pro 2 that were designed by Leica. So the way you do that is jump into your camera settings where you can change the color profile, white balance and all of that, and then go down a couple, 3 or 4 I think, and you get into the first option, which is Leica Natural, which is what you're seeing right now. Curious to see how this looks. Red jacket is helpful, otherwise we'd probably be in the black and white color profile. So this is Leica Vivid, and if it's vivid, my red jacket should be, actually this is kind of orange, but it should be like just about glowing. Then we have Leica Eternal, which is what you're seeing right now. Yeah, I mean, if you like Leica colors, which Leica is known for some pretty spectacular colors, then these presets in the camera might be really your thing. There is one more, and this one is the Leica black and white profile, which, to be honest, if I wasn't wearing a red jacket, like, I'm basically in a black and white scene anyways. And I will say one thing about Insta360, being that I've used their 360 cameras for a long time, is that they are constantly pushing out firmware updates that not only just fix issues, but improve the camera's usability pretty substantially, but a lot of times also add features, sometimes even like 6 months to a year after the camera's been released. And you might also be asking why I didn't shoot everything in 8K. Because the Ace Pro 2 does have an 8K mode, and honestly, I mean, that's what you're seeing right now. It looks good. It does have really good detail to it and more. But the reason I didn't film in 8K for most of this video is the sun stays so low on the horizon in Alaska during the winter that pretty much everything is a ridiculously high dynamic range scene. So I wanted to use the 4K 60 option for most of this video because it gives you the option to use the active HDR. In addition to all the lenses, Insta360 has made an almost insane amount of accessories for the Ace Pro 2, which also includes this little printer they just released that you can print photos you've taken directly off your camera. Takes a minute or so for it to print, but then you get this nice little photo that has even your camera settings on it. In the beginning of this video, I asked if the Ace Pro 2 could replace my mirrorless camera, and I went into it thinking there's no way. But honestly, if all I was doing was filming content for social media, then yeah, in most cases, the Ace Pro 2 could easily take the place of my mirrorless camera. And in some cases, it's even easier because of the integration with wireless mics and things like, and having a waterproof camera, it makes it even better for some of the types of filming that I do. But in reality, no action camera is going to take the place of a full frame camera when I'm doing professional work and client work. At least, not yet. Next, you're going to want to watch this video right here. I'll see you over there. As always, if you have questions, ask me in the comments below, or you can join my live stream, which happens most Wednesday nights at 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern. We can have more of a conversation. I can answer questions that maybe I didn't get to in this video. I'll see you again soon in the next one. Cheers.